This episode is sponsored by Empire's Comics Vault.
Well, sort of. I really like your guys' concept. It's interesting. It's different. And I just thought it was clever. I guess that's the good word for it. It's very clever. And so why don't you guys take a second and kind of tell us what is Evan 07?
So the comic follows the main character, Evan 07, the title character, and he's an espionage janitor. He's the guy that has to go out and clean up the mess that's left by people like James Bond or Jason Bourne or any of those other guys. And he's got his partner, Ninja Dan, who's kind of assigned more towards the Solid Snake, the stoic, more sneaky spies, and the two of them kind of have been forced to collaborate and clean together. And usually the story doesn't really follow like a direct parody, but they go off on their own wacky things. There's not a lot of gore and violence because I kind of think that's kind of the boring part of cleaning up for a janitor. So that's their job, you know, like you don't want to tell a story about your job. So they retelling the story of kind of their more out there problems with cleaning, and there's a deeper conspiracy that's kind of been woven through all the stories that they're kind of trying to wrestle with.
Okay. Are they more when they go to clean? Do they kind of sometimes create bigger messes than they were supposed to? Okay.
Exactly. Like that's kind of where rather than just like it being like, oh, there's an eyeball on the ground, I must clean this with a squeegee. That would be kind of boring to write about or read, I think. So it's usually like our very first series that we did was, you know, after the events of the Fort Knox robbery in Goldfinger, and in our parody of it, Goofinger, they're wrestling over how to clean up the Odd Job. There we go. They're wrestling how to clean up Odd Job, and it turns into this big battle over who gets the rights to the body between the Smithsonian Institute and the Intelligence Cleaner Agency. So the Cleaner Agency wants to destroy it. You know, it's like, this never happened. Like, we don't want this being in a museum. And the Smithsonian Institute, like, this will be perfect to go with our John McClane Tower of Nakatomi Towers incident, like display that we're doing. And they get into this big skirmish, and so it's just this. That's kind of what we try to do is have like their own adventures after the adventure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. I like that idea. You guys, so you personally, how'd you guys kind of get into like art? I guess the first question would be like art itself. I'm assuming you just kind of grew up drawing, and then how did it kind of go to you guys coming together, partnering up to do this story?
Well, our comic has kind of a long history, I'd say. I've been drawing forever, and we went to high school together. And a caricature I drew of Evan actually kind of became popular. And so we had classes together, and so I started drawing Evan as Evan 07, and had a plunger on his back for some reason, and started to... What?
Not on mine.
Oh, not on yours, no.
Yeah.
And we started drawing these little comic strips where these guys were secret agents that were undercover at a high school. You know, not knowing that 10, 15 years later, Kim Possible would come steal that idea right from under us. But, so after high school, you know, we kind of went our separate ways. He went to college, I went to flunk out of college. And I went into animation and failed at it. That's okay. I'm over it.
What a failure. I hitch my wagons to the brightest stars.
Yeah, on their descent. No, but I got into storyboarding, and because I wasn't a fast animator, that was my kind of thing. I was too slow, but I was good at storyboarding and putting together the pieces that the animators actually need. I worked for a defunct video game company that never put out any product, but that's where I fell in love with sort of storyboarding, this sort of movie side of comics, basically, right? Years later, we became roommates, and I wanted to start doing animation again. And so I'm like, well, what about Evan 07? The character had always been around. I'd always drawn him just when I had nothing to draw. And so we started brainstorming different ideas. And pretty soon, I'd been into webcomics at this point. This is about late 2006. And we decided, hey, maybe we should make this into a webcomic. And then we just started creating it, and then in September 2007, it actually went live.
Okay.
So yeah, it's kind of starting at a very seminal point, I guess, if you will, and splitting off and then coming together many years later. So that's basically the past.
It's a good sewing.
Same.
Pretty accurate.
How much of it was? I was gonna say how much of it was true.
Well, that was pretty spot on, honestly. Yeah.
Okay.
I kind of guess surprised at all the failure. I don't remember that part. Yeah.
I remember it.
So you're more the optimist,
More
right?
bitter.
Yeah.
So what's been the hardest part? I guess that's always like when I watch interviews. That's my favorite thing. It's like, okay, it's great, you guys are doing it and you're successful, but like, when did it suck? Like, what? When did you almost quit or that kind of thing? Or have you guys just been like exploding?
That's
Well, this interview is a low point for us.
I think. I guess all.
Well, we might have different ones. So you go.
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah, that's true. You know, we've done the low point. When has it been? Is it worse? I think probably the times where I think it gets fairly frustrating is when we're not actually making the comic.
Mhm.
Like the last few years, we've decided to take like kind of these breaks from actually putting out new content, and those times are hard. They're the most I think challenging creatively because, you know, I'll just give this last example. Like right where we're releasing right now our fourth issue of this series called Operation Three Ring Bound, where the janitors get sent to be undercover high school students rather than being undercover janitors.
Even though they're in
at
their
a high school.
mid-30s, right?
Well, they're in their 30s. It would have made more sense to send them in as janitors, but they get sent as high school students, and they're terrible at being undercover because they're not trained to be undercover spies or anything. So, you know, pretty soon a mole from the Smithsonian Institute is on them, and it gets all wound up into like a dodgeball game, and then it just gets kind of crazy. And we're wrapping that up right now, but we took about, I don't know, probably like a 3-month break in between issue 3 and issue 4, and you know, I feel like it's all been kind of written and it's there, and Dan and life, it just gets in the way. You know, you have
I think that's the biggest thing. Life
yeah,
getting in the way.
life getting in the way is the hardest part. You know, you really want to put all your soul and time into making this comic even better, and when life gets in the way, you're just like, I want to take you and throw you out. But it gets in the way every now and then. We've been pretty good at handling it, but this last time I think was definitely the more challenging of all the times. I think we did a whole podcast about just kind of feeling burned out at one point, and but overall, I mean, it's about making the comic and telling the story with a friend, and that's what we've enjoyed the most, I think. So quickly gets replaced, all those feelings of doubt and self-loathing and.
Well, that's the thing. Whenever you're actually working, this is the plight of all creators, right? It's just while you're working, like, this is the worst stuff ever made. I can't handle this. And then when you're not working, you're like, why can't I do the brilliant stuff I was doing before? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it's just the perpetual problem.
And I think too, this story for us, because we're so done with the idea, like, because we've created it, and we just, I think both of us look at it, we're like, it's so long in the tooth, but we have fans that are like clamoring, like, finish this for us because we really want to read it, and we're just kind of like, I'm ready to move on to next idea. Like, I'm done, and it is done for me. I mean, as the writer, it's done. Like, I've just got to do some last minute kind of tweaks on the script, and it's done.
So then you write and then you draw.
It's pretty collaborative, though. To be fair,
Yeah.
like, I mean, I think we title each other as writer and illustrator, but really it's co-creator.
Okay.
Although I don't do any of the art.
No. Oh no.
It's like I would cut off your hand.
Yeah. I would cut off my hand if I did the art, just to prevent it from getting.
You
on
draw
the
better. Oh.
Just let the blood squirt out onto the page.
Yeah.
Fine.
It's some kind of pattern.
Yeah, that's pretty. I really put myself in my art. So. I know it's on your guys' your site. I think it's countdown. 14 days. So that would have been what, a day ago or so. So you got like 13 days. Is that you're gonna be releasing your next?
Yeah, we changed our release date online
Schedule,
to being a battery of pages, once a month. And that way readers can kind of, you know, come on that Sunday with their morning cup of coffee, read more than one page a week, you know, they get the,
Yeah.
you know, we tried, I think of this
Just
last,
enough to get involved, and then have the
have
Yeah.
it stop.
cliffhanger
Yeah,
ending,
yeah.
and
Exactly.
then throw their cup of coffee across the
Exactly.
room.
Kind of
Exactly.
like drug pushers in that way,
Yeah.
right? You'll give them
Yeah.
just enough.
Just a little hit and then a
Yeah.
little hit. But we
It's
used to release twice a week,
Twice a week.
but that was a different model. We tried it and we didn't really see it working as well. And now I think this way we just kind of want to try different ways of getting the content out to people.
So you guys are actually then working on it and then putting it out pretty soon then, right? So this isn't like you spend
Oh,
3
yeah.
months on a book and then you get it printed and you put it out. You're just doing it and then releasing it. And
Yeah,
is that ever?
There've been many days where the comic was finished at 11:55 p.m. and it was posted at midnight. I'm like, oh yeah, it's 8 o'clock. I should probably get this done, right? So, but yeah, I don't recommend it. I always recommend a buffer of some sort. But you know, that's the nice thing about I think webcomics also, because once it's posted, it doesn't mean it can't be fixed. When you get it printed into a book, you got to be pretty sure that's what you want on the page.
Yeah.
But the internet's interesting like that. It is a perpetually collaborative atmosphere for all the trolls that are out there, right? But most people want your comic to succeed, and so you get a lot of helpful feedback a lot of the time. And I don't recommend putting out a not finished product at all, but get it as good as you can do. And if there are serious areas, it's easy enough to fix and then repost, and then you know it's even better now.
The main thing to do is, and granted, I guess I just kind of gave us an out on this, but is to be consistent about once you decide on your update schedule for something,
Yeah.
stick to that plan and make sure it happens. And we've generally done that, even though we change our release schedule to fit what we want to do with the book.
Yeah.
But like for this last story, the pacing is very different, and it's a little faster. So, you know, releasing that one page per week would, I think, feel worse than having 4 or 5 pages released right away, so that you can kind of get sucked into that story and have that pace feel correct online, because it doesn't usually the other way around. And I think that's something we started to notice as we told our third book. You know, people were just kind of like, I would like to turn the page again.
Yeah.
And they can't until a little while later. So.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people do for story-based comics that are online. A lot of people wait 2-3 weeks and just read the batches anyway. So
Yeah.
we're just kind of co-opting that and saying, well, that's how we're going to make them too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But it is weird. I mean, too, like just the difference with storytelling between a print book and a web experience.
Yeah.
Like trying to maintain that balance has been really tricky too. And that's something we like to talk about on our podcast sometimes. Is just the different experience of a web and print, and even like the marketing of those two different things and how they make money is very, very strange to me still after all these years. I don't know. It's really enjoyable. I mean, can't say that enough.
I forgot the question.
I think we kind of
Okay.
I was like, are we on a question?
I don't know.
there wasn't a
Okay,
it was just
good.
kind of free flowing.
I blacked out for a second. Where am I?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Where are my kidneys?
Is this in bathtub?
Do you have any other questions for them?
What is your process for, like, you have your espionage janitors. Where do you begin at, oh, this is an idea we can work with, and how do you pursue that idea until it gets to print or to web or whatever it is?
Well, I think usually how it works is I've taken off a lot of time to work out of the Urban Hive in Sacramento here to work on the comic and develop ideas. And for Ebon 07, usually how I think it works is, I'll invite Dan over. We'll kind of throw around some ideas. I think for this book, it started. This is for Love of Russia. For the Love of Russia.
Yep.
Which was kind of follows the premise of
For Russia
From
with
Russia with Love.
Yep.
And there was a scene towards the end of that book where one of the kind of nemesis characters of the storyline, Abel, who's Ebon 07's great grandfather, who's mysteriously lived for hundreds of years. He mentions that he will, of Cuba you know nothing, at this anorexic vampire countess, which begged the question what happened in Cuba. So then we did Operation Mongoose, which led to this historical throwback issue of what actually did happen in Cuba in the 60s, and how he tried to kill Fidel Castro but was miserable at it because he was a janitor. He could infiltrate and develop these plans, but he just couldn't execute the plans. And how they all went wrong, and led into this, story of JFK's assassination as well as Lincoln's assassination, and it's really tied him throughout history. So he's been kind of this history weave for us.
So it's kind of become an organic process, whereas I think at the start there was that
Let's do something about
that parody element,
yeah.
right?
Let's do something about
and that's how
Goldfinger.
For Love Russia started. It's like, well, what we watched From Russia with Love, and like, well, what would Ebon 07 do there? And it's fun to kind of think of those stories backwards because our character's coming in at the end, right?
Yeah.
And that's how many of our stories that we have online and started. And then, like the Three Ring Bound, the current storyline that we're in, it was actually started as an homage to.
Yeah, it started out as a pretty small idea, I would say, and then it just kind of just.
Yeah, it was an homage to the fact that it was created when we were in high school, and so like, let's have our characters go to high school, even though, they're much older now. See what happens, right?
And there was a storyline with this Abel character that we really wanted to get out, and how he kind of relates to Ebon 07, and without spoiling that, we needed to push that forward and explain some of that with a good story, as well as like some of Ninja Dan's background and why he is the way he is, and it all seemed like a good place to stick all that was in this high school experience where they're awkward because they're not supposed to be high school students, and it just kind of addressed a whole bunch of issues and evolves our comic a little further. So when we get to the next thing, which I think is, I'll give you an exclusive, is going to deal with the many James Bonds and why there are so many different looking James Bonds. We're going to kind of play with that idea a lot, and
Exclusive content.
so that's going to be the follow-up. And I think
You guys just bumped yourself to being released first now.
Oh, fantastic.
Because of the exclusive, so jump in front of everyone else that we just recorded today.
marketing.
I don't know. What else do we want to know?
I don't know what else I can tell you without having to kill you.
So, well, okay.
Clean you up.
You gotta get Ebon 07 again.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of that, I did like that idea. I was reading through the brief, how rather than just going, oh hey, here's our comic and read it, like it, you're like, oh no, this is all based on true stuff, but we're gonna release it to you as a comic because we can. And you're like, oh, but it really all happened. I thought it was kind of clever to introduce.
Yeah, we started out with making it
was
like
it was even worse.
It was even worse when we started. Like when we first started, it was very experiential in that regard. Like the commander of the ICA or the
Intelligent Cleaner Agency.
Yeah, the Intelligence Cleaner Agency. He had his own Twitter and would
we
redact things and.
We went and we presented the website as if it were the actual website of the Intelligence Cleaner Agency, and like we're presenting it all as fact. Like if we could have gotten a .gov web address, we would have used it.
Yeah, we would have done it. For sure. I thought about buying a .org instead and making it kind of like this non-governmental agency. But I really wanted to get like this weird kind of experiential, just user experience for people, so that they would kind of. The whole idea was that there was a clause in the Patriot Act that forced this super secret agency to declassify over these events that we're eventually going to build to, that are kind of on our end story. We have an end in mind that we're building to. It's just we kind of have slowly been piecemealing that out because a lot of people would get confused, and a lot of people even think I existed. Because I would play a lot of the characters on Twitter and Facebook and things. Like I had
basically only my name was on it.
Only his name was on it. So there actually are interviews online and stuff where people are interviewing Ebon 07, not me,
Yeah.
but they're interviewing me. I'm just playing the character.
What I liked about the conceit and kind of what you brought up was that we have an out for every sort of parody kind of story we tell, because it's like, well, you know, oh, it's like From Russia with Love, but it's different from the movies, and people could complain about that. But then we say, well, the movie's based on real events, but that's their fictional version of it anyway. So, you know, we're telling the real version, guys. Come on.
Yeah. Duh.
That's cool.
This is the nuts and bolts of what happened back then.
I think one of my favorite, not a complaint necessarily, was that, you know, we have a vampire in one of our stories, and she becomes decapitated, but still alive, and someone's like, dude, that's not how zombies work. I mean, not zombies, vampires work. I'm like, well, for one, they're fake.
They are not real.
Two, you know, whatever. This is our world, and this is how it really is, right? And this is, everything you've seen in movies and books, no, that's all made up. So they were keeping you from the truth.
Well, see,
We're
that's
here.
almost like a compliment, anyways, where
Yeah,
someone
yeah.
forgot that they're like trying to argue, no, this is how it really works. Oh wait, yeah, it's just an evidence 7
Yeah.
comic. I forgot it wasn't real for a minute.
People aren't updating Wikipedia going like, oh, well, vampires can also lose their heads.
Yeah, yeah,
As
yeah.
long as they have anorexia.
Although we don't discourage it. If you want to go add that to the Wikipedia page about vampires, that's fine.
Yeah, feel free.
Yeah.
According to Edmund Seven.
Yeah, just side it up.
Man, I wish I had a laptop. I would totally do it right now. See what those people have to say about it.
Seriously.
Alright, so you're talking about the end of the run as far as Ebon 07 is coming up, right?
Yep.
What's next? Or do you have any idea?
We have lots of ideas. I don't know how much. I don't know.
Are you talking about the, like, after we're done with Ebon 07 or just the storyline?
Either one.
Okay.
Whichever you want to answer.
Whichever one applies.
definitely, Ebon 07, the comic series has an end, but that's still fairly far out. We still have some other stories we want to kind of put in there before, and I'm sure as we do those ideas, there'll be more that we'll want to fit in.
Yeah.
I think both of us have, like, kind of side projects that we are working on. I don't know if they're really available for
Well,
discussion at this
Not a
point.
whole
I
lot
want
going
to
on
put
yet.
out my
Yeah.
ideas on the internet and then
Someone do it first.
yeah, exactly, because they're still pretty much in development for me.
So you guys do have, beyond Ebon 07, you have some other ideas though.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Because right now this is your only title that you have in print.
Yeah, and we have 5 books out, although 3 are here. But this series is 3 books, and then there's these 2 books, and then we have over
Almost 200 pages.
almost
online.
200 pages online.
Yeah. So yeah.
You know, where do you're talking about the stuff that this is mostly based off of other like kind of cult followed material that other people have made. What else inspires you to write?
Well, the one thing we never take into consideration are friends and family members saying, "Dude, you should totally do this."
Yeah.
Because it's, you know, like no. What else inspires? Well, I think it's safe for us to say we're both hugely inspired by the Venture Brothers. We kind of took our sort of comedic cue from the Venture Brothers.
Yeah, I would say like the very first season of Venture Brothers, I think, was around 2006, and I think that was the real kick in the pants to like do an idea. And we really at first wanted to do Ebon 07 animated anyway. And my writing style back then was way more suited for writing for screen or for animation. Still could do it, but like writing for comics is just so different. Like it's just
That's one of
way different.
That was one of the hardest things for us actually,
Yeah.
was learning how to write comics.
Yeah.
You know, we had a basic sense and we just jumped in with both feet.
Yeah, we jumped in real wet behind the ears.
And
Thinking like, oh, it's just like a coloring book with things on it. I mean, like, well, let's just do this.
and
How hard could it be?
well, more so pacing and
Yeah.
what to show and we
That's been the trickiest thing,
yeah and
I would say, for me.
originally we said, okay, no story can be more than 10 pages long.
Yeah.
Because I was really worried about you know, if we're releasing only twice a week, I don't want to draw out a story more than 3 weeks, let's say, because I didn't know if readers online would be willing to stick it out that long. I
Some
wanted to
aren't.
keep it moving, keep it going. But eventually we found our groove and kind of got to where we are today, where it becomes I mentioned this earlier, it becomes a good read online as well as a good read in hand as a book.
Yeah. There's a few stories like we will never probably put in a book until it's like a big, like Uber book.
Yeah.
But yeah, we really, the hardest part I think was for writing, from a writing perspective, was locking down pacing, and then also I think trial by fire, like really learning how much you put on the page and then product, and how much do you kind of need to put in your, like, I know this, so I don't need to write it out.
Yeah. So we just answered like your first question. Going back to what was the hardest one.
Yeah, that was really hard. Yeah.
So what else inspired? Let's see, the Venture Brothers I think is a big one. I mean, in terms of art, if you want to go there. When I started drawing, I was really into, it was the early 90s, so the Jim Lee X-Men was, my first comic was X-Men #1 with Jim Lee, and I followed that crowd to Image, and so I was really inspired by especially Jim Lee back then. But when I got into animation, I started losing lines, I started losing detail, and got it so it was my style became very simplified, because you don't want to be drawing a whole bunch of lines when you're trying to move a drawing around at 10 frames a second. And when it came to actually designing the characters for the comic, I was really looking at artists like Bruce Timm, who was the character designer behind the Batman animated series. I was also really inspired by an artist named Yukito Kushiro, who did a manga called Battle Angel. But other than that, it was just me kind of learning how to unlearn what I had learned by copying Jim Lee and J. Scott Campbell and Arthur Adams and stuff like that, because I just don't have the patience for all those details anymore. So just getting the gestures on the page and having the characters act big with their whole bodies instead of trying to rely on cool poses and evil stares was really helped inspire the attitude of the book, at least for the artistic side. I don't know how to color, so I don't really have a. I just kind of like, well, yeah, trees are green. Your shirt's blue all the time. That's good to know. It's the ground. Let's make it brown. No, gray. Gray's good, right?
It's awesome. That's like a great theory there for coloring.
Oh, yeah.
Eeny, meeny, yeah, there. That looks good.
If I saw that on a billboard, I'd believe it was there.
Yeah.
All right, well, I sure appreciate you guys coming out doing the interview.
Absolutely.
Again, just love your guys' clever concept there. It's just really cool. So, thanks.
Thank you very much.
I'll shake your hand.
All right, good. Handshake
We've
now.
grown as people. I've learned
He's
something.
grown as a person.
I had an arc.
There you go. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Take care.
This episode is sponsored by Empire's Comics Vault.